Hey, good morning guys. Thanks for coming. My name is Deepak Narain. I'm from VMware. And we're going to talk about delivering infrastructure and desktops as a service. We're going to focus a little more on desktops as a service because that's a brand new offering that we're offering jointly with Pacific Controls. But we'll go through the whole story. And I know we have a Q&A session at the end, but if you guys have a burning question, I won't mind if you stop me. So the first thing is, we all know why the cloud exists, right? We know the technology answer. We know it's because virtualization came along. We know it's x86 hardware is cheaper, bandwidth is cheaper, etc., etc. What are the macroeconomics that cause the cloud to exist? Why do we, as end users, why do we as enterprises keep going to that well, which is the public cloud? And that's really the reason it thrives. The technology is an enabler, but there's a business reason for it. And we call it the digital deficit, right? It's no doubt, you guys know, your companies are growing. The economies we live in are growing. Clearly, companies are spending a lot of money on digital initiatives, right? We want to get closer to the end user. We want mobile apps. We want to know what they're doing. We need analytics. We need data platforms. We need mobile commerce. We need e-commerce, right? This money is being spent. But this money typically isn't going to IT, right? Isn't going to that shared service function, which was tasked with doing compliance and shared services for the company. It's going to the line of business, who in turn decides how they want to spend it. Right? So Gartner says by 2019, 75% of projects will be funded not through IT, but directly through the business. So these guys are out there. They need services, they need them quickly. Oh my God, my competitor just launched a special. I need it now, right? I found this great new analytics company in Paris. You guys are using Hyperion, no good for me, right? I want to use that service right there. It gives me exactly the analytics I want, and I don't have time for you guys to speed up, to ramp up to it, right? So they're going straight up. They're bypassing IT, they're going to the public cloud. We call this shadow IT, right? Everyone knows this. We all know this, we all know it's happening. We don't mind it in IT, right? Our job is to enable the business. But we also have a responsibility. We have a corporate responsibility for compliance. How do we bring those two together? And that's the digital divide. Money is being spent, but it's bypassing your traditional controls. The public cloud helps. Public cloud gives you agility. It gives you economies of scale. And one thing that we in IT often forget is it gives you cost transparency, right? The end user sees exactly what they're providing for. I mean, I've seen plenty of conversations where some guy says, hey, I just needed some resources to run my web services, right? Why am I being stacked with a bill for a tape drive? I didn't ask for a tape drive. Right? But that's how it works. That's the shared services model. Right? And you don't see that. You see total transparency with public cloud. And that's the message that we're trying to understand. What is it? What can we do to help? So you heard the word, you heard my friend from Microsoft talk a lot about the hybrid cloud. Right? And we believe that's the answer. Right? The hybrid cloud is not about saying it's either us or me, us or them. It's saying it's about giving the end user what they want with the control that they can provide. Right? And we think it's the best model because it allows you to do a two-way approach, right? You can use the ghost out. I have an application here. I'm either out of computing resources, or oh my God, I just set up a customer base in Riyadh and I don't have a presence in Riyadh. Can I burst out to a data center over there and offer my service locally? I need to keep data integrity rules in mind, but it also facilitates you coming in, right? People are writing these third generation applications. Right? Gartner calls them the third platform. People are writing these new applications, and they are not built in traditional ways. These are cloud-first applications. They're going to be built in the cloud. What we can do is take those applications and say, developers, you guys get the tools you want. You guys deploy in the way you want. You guys want to do DevOps. We'll let you do DevOps, right? But when things are in production, we would like to plan some controls around it. Right? We would like to put a wrapper around your application, and we would like to deploy it either here or out there in the public cloud. And we believe that only works when you have matching technology stacks. Right? If you have a private cloud or basic virtualization built on technology stack, and you go out to a public cloud that is built on the same technology stack, that's when you get seamless movement. Right? You get the controls that can be applied here, and that can be moved over to the public cloud. We call it the software-defined data center. So we don't want to virtualize just servers. The VM in VMware stands for virtual machines, but we've grown up a lot. We want to virtualize every damn thing in the data center. We want to virtualize the storage, we want to virtualize the networking, and most importantly, we want to virtualize the security policies that go around all of these. So what we've done is we've set up, we have our own little cloud, and I say it, I emphasize it too. We're nowhere near the largest public cloud in the market. It's called vCloud Air. We've got a few data centers around the world. But that's not really the core of what we are doing, right? vCloud Air for us is like a lighthouse, it's like a beacon. It's when we put our software first to show people what can be done. It's when we ship, when we do first customer ship, our first customer ship isn't to your data centers, it's to our public clouds, our proving ground. But we have a very small footprint. What we have is we have a very large network of close to 4,000 partners all over the world. We're able to provide a matched technology stack to what you guys are running inside your private data center to be able to take the benefits of the public cloud. Right? And that's called the vCloud Air network. It is a global network. We span, I stand here in Dubai, Pacific controls who is our lighthouse, our shining beacon over here of what can be done with VMware technology. We've got partners all over the world. We cover 99% of the total addressable market. So if you've got an application that must be deployed in Johannesburg and you must respect the data integrity rules there, well, guess what? There's a cloud over there that has the same technology stack, and you can push your application out to it and make sure you maintain the same security, the same network addresses. All of this, it is completely transparent to you and is managed from within your data center. So the vCloud Air network is the world's largest network of validated, that's a mouthful. It's just a large network of service providers, all of whom are not just using our software, but they're also using our blueprints to be able to build and offer services to you locally. And what that gives you choice. Choice in terms of how you deploy, where you deploy, what kind of cost model you get. It gives you flexibility. You have different ways of consuming it. You can do it the good old-fashioned way, saying I'm going to log on and pay the spot rate, multi-tenant cloud. You can get dedicated resources. You can say, I want this little chunk of the cloud down to the hardware level is mine. Or you can do what most of our customers do, which is they get virtual private clouds. I don't care what you do with hardware. Guarantee me 40,000 gigahertz of CPU, guarantee me 2 terabytes of memory, and I'll figure out how to partition. Don't give me 4 virtual machines, don't give me 8, just give me the resources. I know how to put them together. You get data sovereignty, right? You get laws of the land, you get to choose which data center you're putting it in, and you get breadth and depth, which means you get people who have local expertise, people who understand the laws, constraints locally, but you also get the depth of the full VMware experience. Validated cloud services, which means we're part of them, we're partnered with our service providers. We're making sure that they're building it not just to our software, but also to our model. And you get a rich marketplace of third-party services. Okay, and that's covering infrastructure, right? So you build your data center using our blueprint, which we call the software-defined data center. Gives you massive scalability, gives you really low total cost of ownership. If you were to post out to the public cloud, that's available through our infrastructure as a service offering. But what about the end users? How are they consuming this, right? We have freed the workload, we call it the workload, you call it the operating system, or you call it the virtual hardware from the data center. Similarly, the end users have freed themselves. Right? 43% of people use their own devices. 43% of people use 3 or more devices. Right? Everybody's got a phone, a laptop, and probably a tablet or a phablet running around. At least 2 of them, they have purchased for themselves. Okay? 74% of people are using their own consumer technology. They're using their own technologies. because they don't have the right alternative. Right? I still have customers who are giving out BlackBerries to their customers, to their end users. I really don't see too many BlackBerries in desks anymore. Right? People are using what works for them. And a few years ago, we reached a tipping point. In 2010, we reached a point where the applications went from being completely Windows-centric to being the majority of applications are not tied down to a specific Windows platform anymore. So we're sort of freeing ourselves from the desktop model, but the desktop is still there. It's really, really important to us, and that's what we're going to talk about: is how are we going to deliver those services that need the desktop, but keeping all of these parameters in mind. Yeah. And much more importantly, how are we going to do this in a secure way? So statistics show that you are much more likely to be robbed than hacked. Okay. Globally, one laptop is stolen every less than a minute, every 53 seconds. 50% of that theft is not happening out in the airport, it's not happening in the hotel, it's happening on site. And when you lose data, you lose business critical information. Okay, so we actually have we have a product called AirWatch. AirWatch is the world's leader in MDM solutions, being able to lock down your mobile devices. And what we're doing is we're doing a project jointly with Microsoft, where we're taking AirWatch and another piece of technology we have called Apple, which is called Project A Square, and bringing it to Windows 10. Because Windows 10 gives you great mobility, you've got the Surface, you've got a whole host of other devices out there that are offering people the mobility and choice that they need. And you want to be able to lock these down. So through Project A Square, we're going to be able to bring MDM capabilities that are typically only available on your phone and offer them on mobile computing devices, such as a laptop. Okay, how do I manage all of these new devices and apps? Getting a laptop is really easy. I can go down to Carrefour and pick one up. Getting it corporatized is much more difficult. Statistics show over 8 hours spent building a laptop for corporate use. And once those 8 hours are up, another 4+ hours is spent trying to patch everything. Because we built this master ISO image 2 years ago or a year ago, and there have been 15 key critical security patches since then. We need to sit there, we need to apply them, we need to make sure they come in the right order. Okay, and how do I contain costs? Right? BYOD stands for bring your own device, but what it really stands for is somebody else pays. Right? The consumer is paying for their device, but your overheads for managing that device are going up. So somewhere roughly close to 20% extra people spending on managing a BYOD device or managing corporate devices. Right? So money is still being spent, it's just coming out from a different knowledge. Can I ask how many of you guys are using VDI today in your data centers? Probably nobody, we have a lot of customers. All right, so you guys know what virtual desktops are? Okay. So virtual desktops, essentially, the idea is I go up to a device, a phone, a thin client, a laptop. I need an internet connection. I log on to a website or I'll pull up a special client, and boom, my desktop is there for me. That's the virtual desktop. It's sitting somewhere in the cloud. Okay. Virtual desktops sort of give you the best of both worlds. They let the end users choose the device they want. I can consume my virtual desktop on my laptop. I can consume it on my iPhone, on my Android. I can consume it on my tablet. In whatever form factor I want, it's there. I get access from anywhere. All I need is a network connection. I don't have to be on the corporate network. I don't have to be VPN there. We can use basic Active Directory authentication. We can use multi-factor authentication, whatever combination of technologies you need. But I get a full-fledged desktop at the end. Okay. IT is back to being in control. There's a strategic control point, which means they give people the resources they need, but they maintain control of them. Right? It's very, very important from a compliance basis. It's very easy for people to bring in their personal laptops, load corporate data on them, and that data has left your compliance and your controls. And with the strategic control point, you can offer higher agility to your customer. Right? So through the Pacific Controls program, I mean, I was just speaking to some of the guys in the back. They can, over a phone call, they can sit there and they can provision 10, 15, 20 desktops for you. They have a platform scaled up that can scale up to thousands of end users. Right? So if you've got a need, and you need a desktop right away, corporate image or controlled desktop, that can be done in a matter of months. That's agility. Okay, so the way it works, very simple. Essentially, all the magic is happening inside the Pacific Controls data center. They've got our platform, we call it VMware Horizon DaaS, Horizon Desktop as a Service. It comes to us, we bought a company out called Desktone a couple of years ago. Desktone is the world's leader in providing desktop as a service. So we've got all the infrastructure sitting here in Pacific Controls data center. There's a little piece of the connector that is deployed in your data center. It could be a little virtual machine deployed in your data center to make sure that that connection to your corporate security policies is connected to your Active Directory. You make sure you get your controls, your systems, your logon, your credentials over to that desktop. And you can consume this desktop from anywhere. You can sit there in your office on a good old-fashioned desktop. You can replace your desktop with these things called thin clients. You can be in a remote office. You can be on a phone, and a tablet, or a next generation device. You've got clients for everything. Heck, you can even do this on a BlackBerry, and you can access the corporate desktop. Which means once you're in, which basically means you can bring any device you want, but once you work at work, we get you into a corporate managed environment. Right? The data is there. We can choose to have connectors. We can choose to allow you to put data in a public cloud somewhere. But that's IT's choice all of a sudden. Right? Nobody's coming in saying, oh, look, I can take my corporate data and I can move it to my Dropbox. Right? Because this is a corporate control image. The benefits are it's fast and flexible. It's really easy to start and buy. Speak to the guys, they'll set you up with the desktop, probably today, right? Probably at the end of this meeting. The other big thing, and this is the really big thing about the cloud, is we're moving from a CapEx model to an OpEx model. Right? So this means you have no CapEx, no desktops to buy, no, well, you've got to work out the licensing, but there are different programs for it. But essentially, capital expenditure is zero. Your completely operational expenditure, which is one of the most beautiful things about the cloud. What you also get, what it doesn't say here, is you get amazing cost transparency. You don't get these rigid bill of quantities which have a number at the bottom. You get to choose exactly which components you need. You get to choose in what order you want to combine them. And you get the services that you want with full transparency. No operational skills needed. A poor guy sitting in your office whose only job is to pick up trouble tickets and reset passwords, or fix blue screens, or go out and install Windows or whatever they use. You can repurpose their jobs here. They can be doing higher value-added services. You can leverage multiple data centers. The technology is rich enough where we can go out using very simple geolocation metrics, figure out where is the closest desktop for you. So tomorrow, if Pacific Controls builds a data center in Abu Dhabi, if not in India, I'm just making this up, and you've got a user in Abu Dhabi, we'll detect it, and we'll redirect them to the data center in Abu Dhabi so they can get the service that is closest to them. And we can support a hybrid model. We can have in-house desktop virtualization combined with desktop as a service, Pacific Controls. Okay, and we started this journey. I mean, this was new to us a couple of years ago as well. We were shocked. This is a study from Cisco. And so we, as in, girls like me who saw VMware make this acquisition. So we went around soul searching, saying, is there a market? And the data we found shows that 66% of people are either using desktop as a service or are planning to use desktop as a service within the next few months. Right? So this is a concept that the market has already digested, is already said, and this data is at least a year old, right? So that number is only ticking up as cloud usage goes up. Okay, I don't know what those guys in the bottom 34% are going to do. And why? Why? Because it has zero capex. Why? Because it is at almost no operational cost to you in terms of people and overhead. But there are some very specific use cases. The first use case is desktop replacement. I'm done. No more buying desktops. I'm going full hog. I'm going desktop as a service. Right? My people are going to get thin clients so they can bring whatever they want from work. That is a very valid use case. We have a number of customers, especially greenfield customers, who are going in this way. A much more valid use case, what we see a lot more is disaster recovery. Right? So I've been in this business for quite some time, you can see that. And a lot of my time has been spent working on high availability, business critical, business continuity, and disaster recovery environments. And 9 times out of 10, this happens at the end of when somebody goes through a disaster, right? They say, oops, we did a great job of moving our services from here to there. We moved everything from Dubai to Singapore. We forgot. The reason we moved everything from Dubai to Singapore was because we have network connectivity application. How are my end users sitting here going to access my services over there? So using desktop as a service to cover disaster recovery environments, either by having a neutral desktop that you can connect to from anywhere, or by having different teams in different places using load balancing and workload balancing, not just load balancing, to be able to have business continuity. If you have a brownout, if you lose a piece of your estate, you've got the rest of your estate somewhere else to take over the load. That was a huge driver for virtualization when I started this business, and that's a big driver for desktop as a service today. Remote offices, point-to-point connectivity is rather expensive still, especially in this region. Broadband connectivity, internet connectivity is coming down. Thank you, all these young government efforts. They brought the cost of internet down drastically over the past 2 years. Why can't I use desktop as a service to connect my remote offices? Why must I use point-to-point connectivity, which is much more expensive to connect them to headquarters, whether either I'm serving them through a VDI or some other kind of managed desktop? Seasonal and contract employees. People come, people go. A great example for this is a call center. One of my first customers was a call center, big call center in Egypt. They were outsourced from a lot of telcos all over the world. And they had 3 times the desktops as they had as number of seats, because they had 3 roles, right? You could come in, you could service Australia and New Zealand, you could service the UK, or you could service the Middle East. 3 different roles that have 3 different desktops. They got smarter, they moved it so that they had 3 different images, right? The desktops are triple boot. What they found was, from a management perspective, this is even worse than having 3 different desktops. Now you need some special expertise to be able to manage this. They were one of the earliest adopters of VDI in this region. They did desktop as a service internally because everybody just had a thin client at their seat. They came in based on their user ID or based on the time of day. The system figured out what role they were playing and gave them the appropriate desktop, right? So you could have the same person working 2 shifts, and you wouldn't have to actually go out and reconfigure the environment. You just log out and you log back in, and you get a new set of software tools that you needed. Mobile employees, people out there on the street, people doing sales, they need full access to corporate data. Typically, this data is locked in things like Oracle databases. Little phones are not the easiest way to get to them, and little phones typically don't have the clients to get to your Oracle 9 or 10 or 11 database, right? You don't want to go through that massive upgrade cycle. Really quick fix is to give them desktop as a service. They go out, when they need to, they connect. They're able to get the application. Okay? And desktop as a service comes in flavors. Okay, so we're talking about full-fledged VDI here, where they get the full desktop. Okay? We can go out and we can deliver to them a specific application. They don't know what's happening behind the covers. Right? Behind the covers, there may be a server behind them, there may be a desktop. Right? Microsoft calls this RDSH. Okay, and we're just the front end to it. And you can give people only the applications about the richness of the environment or the provide to the end user. Right? The choice is unlimited. We can go with any combination that we want. And the last one is people with special requests. I'm a developer. I can't work on these crappy 8 gig laptops that you guys are giving everyone. I need 32 gigs. I don't have to go out and create a special PO. I can just go deliver to him a desktop. I can put additional resources in his current desktop, and boom, he has them. So all of these are use cases that I've seen customers use for going either with on-premise VDI or with desktop instance. The difference between those two models really is expenses. Do I want to take a big CapEx hit up front, or do I want to shift it all to OpEx? If I want to take a CapEx hit up front, if I want that full control, I want things running in my data center, VDI is an option. Otherwise, desktop as a service is an option. From our perspective, the technology is the same under the covers. We're using the same protocols to access. It's all about how we enable you to access. What consumption model works for you as a consumer. Okay. So the platform is pretty straightforward. As I mentioned, all the magic happens in the corporate data center. There's a little piece that connects to your environment to make sure we have all of your credentials. You manage the users, we manage the desktop. Pacific Controls manages the desktop. Okay. You don't have to stick with one specific approach. The platform allows you to do mix and match. So here's an example of a customer who's taken all of those use cases together, saying 80% of the time I want desktop replacement. For 15%, I have transient users, I have students, I have virtual labs, I have contractors, I have shared desktops. And for the other 5%, I'm just going to deliver the application. You can mix and match any model that you want, as long as it adds up to 100%. And the technology is robust enough to support it. Right? The whole idea behind this partnership is we have the technology, Pacific Controls has the expertise, we combine it in a way that you can consume it the way that's best for you. We're not trying to lock you into a specific model. Things you may or may not care about. What does the platform look like inside? Right, so forget the numbers. I won't walk you through the steps, but instead, way at the bottom, that's Pacific Controls right there. They're managing multiple data centers, and they've got a central point of control that everyone connects to. The physical desktops may exist anywhere in the world. We've got multiple data centers in there. And the architecture, this is important to understand from a security perspective. The architecture is inherently multi-tenant. What that means is the only way any service provider makes money is by oversubscribing, right? I mean, if we all picked up our phones, and if you all were to dislike the entire UAE call, a chunk of those calls will fail, right? Because they're oversubscribed. So a service provider must, for them to pass low cost on to you, they must have a lower cost base, right? So multi-tenancy is a key part of that cost base, which means you're actually sharing resources with other organizations, but they're completely segregated from, right? Your desktop is your desktop. Your neighbor might have a desktop there as well. There's no way you can go from his desktop to your desktop, right? The networks are completely segregated virtually. You cannot, if your neighbor had deployed a bad patch and he had a blue screen on all of his desktop, it means nothing to you. If he had a virus, that means absolutely nothing to you. The security controls are completely locked down to a truly multi-tenant. Okay? And the whole point is, we are working very hard as a technology vendor to provide our partners with a lower cost model. And we have stripped the architecture down so much. We have removed any components in it that would add cost. We have this blueprint that can scale up literally to millions of desktops. Okay? And the idea is we're enabling our partner to give you massive economies of scale, who in return are taking the savings and passing them on to you. Okay, so to conclude, why desktop as a service now? The technology has existed for quite some time. Why is now the right time to deploy this? Why is now the right time to hit the market with this for us? Is first of all, it's users are becoming much more comfortable with moving workloads to the cloud. Right? We have no issues about putting our resources out in the cloud. Right? So somebody forwarded me this in WhatsApp this morning. So there was a time when we wrote personal diaries and we got really upset when somebody read them. Now we put all of our life information on Facebook, and we get really upset when people don't read it. Right? People are very, very comfortable understanding that the service provider does provide the right level of controls, does provide the right security level, and they can control who sees the data and why they see it. The cost model is very attractive. The cloud has taught people that moving towards OpEx is not a bad thing. The digital deficit I talked about earlier was all about people moving towards the public cloud specifically because they incur OpEx, line of business is incurring OpEx, and they get agility and cost transparency in return. And so organizations are getting primed to be able to spend money on this. And for you, it means minimal internal expertise required. You can take, you really, I understand, I work at a help desk, you can take this skeletal, really harassed IT staff, and you can have them support much larger functions. We heard earlier today that 70% of IT bill spend is going on keeping the lights on. All we want to do is take that 70%, bring it down to 50%, right, so that you can invest in innovation. Okay. So that's it from me. You guys have any questions? Please